UFC Fight Night Vegas 42, Holloway versus Rodriguez takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, and what an amazing card this is as well, by the way. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Marc Diakiese versus Rafael Alves. I am definitely going to be going with Marc Diakiese here. He's only a slight favourite, and I trust him as that favourite in the lightweight division. I don't see this one hitting the ground. Now, Rafael Alves might not be as big of an underdog because of how good he looked against Demiris Magulov, because he cracked him in the first round, dropped him for a second, but I believe that was mainly because Demiris Magulov had been out of the cage for about 2 years on a hiatus from the UFC, came back afterwards, looked a bit rusty in the first round. Alves caught him with a big punch. I don't see Alves knocking down Diakiese. I don't see him KOing Diakiese. I don't see him going to the ground with Diakiese here, even though Rafael Alves showed great grappling defense against Demiris Magulov when he breakdanced his way back to his feet. If you've seen that, it was absolutely crazy. But I don't see a grappling match. I see a striking match here. I don't think Alves can get Diakiese to the ground. I don't think Diakiese can get Alves to the ground. I think it's going to be a stalemate on the feet. And I think Marc Diakiese wins a fight on the feet against Rafael Alves. He's got a good chin. He's fought good competition opponents. He's very underrated in his career. He's fought Dan Hooker, Nasrat Haqparast. He's had some very close fights. He had a close fight with Drakkar Klose. No pun intended, by the way. He had a very close fight in his last one against Rafael Fiziev. Lost the first 2 rounds, but won the 3rd round against Fiziev and took some big shots. And he was tough and game in that fight. He never quit on himself. Came back in the 3rd round. Had some good moments as well where Fiziev started to slow down. He took so many hard body shots and so many shots on the chin in that fight. I just don't see any way that Alves is going to finish him here. He could, but I think in a stand-up match, over the distance, Marc Diakiese is going to wear on Rafael Alves. Maybe lose the first round here to Alves, but then win the second 2. I'm going to go 29-28. Unanimous decision to Marc Diakiese. I just see him wearing on Alves as the fight goes on. He's got a reach advantage. He's got a size advantage. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage as well, which is a big deal. And he's still only 28 years of age. I like Marc Diakiese here. I think he's very underrated. And I think he's at really good odds as well, being a slight favourite. So I'm going with Marc Diakiese, 29-28. Moving on to the next fight up the card. Cynthia Calvillo versus Andrea Leah. Now, I don't know why the card is laid out this way, okay? Because these layouts of the cards are extremely strange to me, but there's a lot of fights on the prelims that I believe should be on the main card. However, Cynthia Calvillo, Andrea Leah, let's talk about it. I think, at evens, Cynthia Calvillo's the pick. Am I wrong? Cynthia Calvillo, as evens against Andrea Leah, I think she should be a slight favourite here. At least a slight favourite over Andrea Leah. I understand Andrea Leah just looked good against Antonina Shevchenko, but I know her surname's Shevchenko, but she seems to be really terrible at grappling and not know what she's doing whatsoever. Every single opponent that takes her on seems to expose a bit of her ground game. I understand that Andrea Leah looked good in that fight and she had her moments, and she does seem like she's improving a bit, but I think Cynthia Calvillo, although losing to Jessica Andrade, every women's flyweight other than Valentina Shevchenko loses to Jessica Andrade in that division. I don't see anyone that could beat her there. I think Cynthia Calvillo is tough. She lost to Andrade. She got TKO'd in the first round, but she didn't really take too much damage. Didn't get dropped or concussed too badly. Basically just quit against a cage. She won't be quitting against Andrea Leah. Andrea Leah's been taken down before, been controlled on the ground by Lauren Murphy, even though I thought she won that fight against Lauren Murphy. Andrea Leah is very good. She's good on the feet, but I think Cynthia Calvillo is better, although having a reach disadvantage here. I think she'll find her way on the inside, find her way into the clinch, get it to the ground, and end up on top of Andrea Leah, who at times on the ground just seems a little bit too willing to be on her back. And I think against a girl like Cynthia Calvillo, who has experience grappling with great opponents, including out-grappling in the 3rd round of their fight, I believe it was, let me find it right now. It was Marina Rodriguez in the 3rd round. She out-grappled Marina Rodriguez, beat her up really badly in the 3rd round of that fight to a 10-8 round, got the draw for herself, and that's aged very well because Mackenzie Dern couldn't do anything on the ground to Marina Rodriguez. I feel like Cynthia Calvillo is underrated. I think all strawweights in the UFC female divisions are underrated. She's beat Courtney Casey, she beat Jessica Ai and looked good there. That was on short notice as well. She beat her over 5 rounds. I believe she's beat better opponents. She had a close fight with Chookagian. I thought she lost that one, but still, it was a close fight, reasonably competitive. But you know what? I don't rate I don't rate a loss to Jessica Andrade too badly. She's only lost to good fighters. She beat Joanne Calderwood, let's not forget, who right now is a top women's flyweight contender. I'm definitely going to be going with Cynthia Calvillo here over Andrea Lee. I understand an Andrea Lee pick, but I think Calvillo's still good, and she's going to get this one in the bag using her grappling and landing bigger shots on the feet. Moving on, up the card, Miguel Beza versus Khaos Williams. Next up on the prelims. Are you seeing why I'm confused about the layout of this card yet? I'm going to go with Miguel Beza here. We'll just move on as if this isn't the layout of the card. I think they've mixed up the prelims and the main card, honestly. I'm going to go with Miguel Beza here. I have a theory about Khaos Williams that if you're in any way technical and have a good chin, you'll beat Khaos Williams. I picked Miguel Pereira to beat him. Miguel Pereira did beat him in a very close fight, but he took it very patiently. I think Miguel Beza is very, very fundamentally sound. I think Khaos Williams is improving his fundamentals more than I expected. He looked good against Matthew Semmelsberger, but again, in these decision fights that Khaos Williams has, he's not shutting people out. You know what I mean? He's not winning 30-27, dominating every round. He's getting cracked a lot. He's leaving himself open a lot. There's so many moments where he's open, and I feel like Miguel Beza, with great countering ability, great calf kicks, great front kicks to the stomach, which is used against Khaos Williams in his Miguel Pereira fight. He did not like those front teeps to the stomach. I think Miguel Beza has the recipe to give Khaos Williams a whole bunch of problems in that division. He's got a good chin. He's only been cracked once in his career against Matt Brown. Went down against a cage, but got right back up and kept fighting and looked very composed, recomposed himself. There is always that chance that Khaos Williams can land that big punch in the first round, but as the underdog that he is, which is barely an underdog, I don't like that one punch in the first round chance. Fair play, he could maybe outstrike Miguel Beza over 3, but in that Santiago Ponzinibbio fight, although Miguel Beza lost, I rewatched that fight again. Miguel Beza was tuning him up in the first round, chopping at his legs, going to the body, landing good shots upstairs as well. There was a moment at the end of the round where Ponzinibbio did quite well. Then Ponzi sort of took over the last part of the second round and then took over the third round. But Miguel Beza was there the whole time against a big puncher in Santiago Ponzinibbio. He took his best shots, he gave him back, and he stayed in there brawling with him. I don't think Khaos Williams can keep up that pace that Miguel Beza and Ponzinibbio kept up. I also don't believe he's going to be as technical of a striker as Miguel Beza. So I'm going to go with Miguel Beza here, cracking Khaos Williams multiple times in the fight. And I think I'll go with him by unanimous decision, 29-28. Maybe Khaos Williams wins the first round or something like that with bigger shots. But I think Miguel Beza is going to invest more, land leg kicks, land front kicks to the stomach, maybe earn a couple of takedowns here and there. And I think he'll win this fight in the last 2 rounds. 29-28 Miguel Beza, wearing down Khaos Williams, sapping away his energy with leg kicks and body shots, and eventually taking over as the fight goes on. Miguel Beza gets it done with great technique. Moving on up the card to another fight on the prelims, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Jung. I'm not doubting him anymore. I'm going to go with the underdog here, Kennedy Nzechukwu. I mean, this isn't like a big test. It's Jung. Jung's a good contender. He's on a win streak right now. I believe he just beat William Knight in that division as well. He's looking good for himself. Jung is a good contender in that division. He beat Mike Rodriguez by KO in the first round. The problem I have with this fight is the Sam Alvey fight stinks. How is he the favourite here? I'm sorry, yeah, but Kennedy Nzechukwu, although doesn't look that good and sometimes just gets beaten up until he eventually wins, you cannot deny this man is a physical specimen. He's got a granite chin for his size. He's got a crazy reach for the weight class as well, 83 inches, 6'5" for the division. He is a weight bully of all weight bullies, and he doesn't have a problem with his chin, even while draining himself down that much. He's only lost to Paul Craig. Got caught in a submission in the third round after 2 rounds of winning that fight, but then Paul Craig came back, got the submission win by triangle. I just don't see why he's the underdog here. He's got a granite chin. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good grappling defense. He had Danilo Marquez on his back for 2 rounds, stayed calm, stayed composed, and got him out of there in the third round by TKO. I truly believe that Kennedy Nzechukwu is going to come back in the later rounds of this one and finish Jung, I'll say late second round TKO. I think Jung will land some decent shots. He'll do okay on the feet. He'll eat some big shots back. I think he'll try and sort of close the show, gas himself out, trying to close the show against Kennedy Nzechukwu, who will then come back in the second round, put the pressure on Jung, and I don't see Jung surviving that pressure because Sam Alvey made him look like he couldn't survive that pressure, and he's lucky he got a draw in that fight as well because he barely got a 10-8 round in the third. So Sam Alvey made Jung look pretty terrible. I do believe Nzechukwu would KO Sam Alvey. And also, he's beat Danilo Marquez, who's 11-2. He's beat Carlos Ulberg, who is a great stand-up fighter. He beat Darko Stozic, who, as we all know, is the Serbian GOAT of all time. But I think he's very good. I think he's a good fighter. He's not great. He's a heavier weight class, so it's not going to be anything too technical, but I think he's just tough. He's composed, and I think that goes a long way in this division. I think he's got big power, big range, and big pressure and cardio, and I think he'll get this one done against Jung in the second round by TKO. Moving on up the card to another fight. Thiago Moises versus Yoel Alvarez. Next up on the prelims. Something's wrong. I'm going to go with Yoel Alvarez here as an underdog again against Thiago Moises. People don't realize how fucking big this guy is. He is a giant man for the lightweight division. He has a 6.5-inch reach advantage over Thiago Moises, and he's great on the ground as well. So you got Thiago Moises, who's arguably going to want to get this one to the ground. He hasn't shown great ability to get opponents to the ground unless he fights Islam Makhachev, which makes no fucking sense, but that's how MMA works. Either way, Thiago Moises typically has had a huge problem with getting opponents to the ground. Yoel Alvarez is young. He's got a great record. He's fought good competition opponents. He's beaten them pretty easily as well. He's had great performances. He's got good calf kicks, which I think are a game changer. As soon as I see a fighter with calf kicks, I immediately trust them more than I would normally. I know people don't like Yoel Alvarez because he misses weight a bunch, and that's why he didn't have his last fight against Christos Giagos, but he beat Yakovlev first round armbar, great submission ability, beat Joe Duffy first round guillotine, beat Beluardo second round TKO. He hasn't beat great opponents before that, but he fought a couple of great guys on the regional scene, 14-3, 9-1, Radu Maxim. He lost to Demiris Magulov in a reasonably competitive fight, the same way Thiago Moises did, but I think he's more improving here. I think Thiago Moises has got to the top so early. He's not going to be adding new things into his game. I love the calf kicks of Yoel Alvarez. I love the kicks in general. I like the 6.5-inch reach advantage on the feet that he has. And I love his takedown defense. And I love his defensive ability with submissions. I don't see him ending up on the ground. I think he'll stuff takedowns or threaten guillotines and get back to his feet. He's a giant for the division. I don't see him being thrown around here by Thiago Moises. I think he's going to land the bigger shots. And I think he's actually going to take a decision win against Thiago Moises. 30-27, shutting him out, destroying his calf early on with those devastating calf kicks that he landed against Joe Duffy, and I think he'll win this one as the fight goes on. 30-27, breaking down Moises in the first and just cruising to a victory after that. I think he's very good. You've got to watch out for him. Underdog as well, by the way. Big underdog. I don't know why. Moving on, up the card to another fight on the prelims. Cortney versus Liana Jojua. I'm going to go with Cortney here. Majority of Tapology is picking Liana Jojua. Majority of Tapology is picking Thiago Moises and Jung, so I'm disagreeing with a lot here. I don't know why they're picking Liana Jojua. Simps, am I wrong? Just straight up simps. What has she done good ever? Like, straight up, I know she's hot, but what has she done good ever? Cortney has a win over Angela Hill. You know, like, good wins. Good wins over decent opponents. She's fought better competition her entire career. She's still not that old, 34. You know, it's quite old, but it's not like that far past your prime. Liana Jojua is the younger girl, and maybe she'll improve a bit more, but I just look like she kind of mentally quit against Miranda Maverick. She had a cut on her nose. I've never seen a fight stopped for a cut over the nose, but I guess she cares about her looks quite a lot. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to be going with Cortney here. I'll take her to win. She's only a slight favourite as well, so I think it's good odds, good value. She had a bunch of close fights, split decision with Michelle Waterson, split decision with Felice Herrig, decision with Claudia Gadelia. She beat Randa Marcos, which apparently is a good win for female standards. She's had a bunch of good fights with a bunch of good competition opponents, beat Angela Hill, lost to Cynthia Calvillo by decision. I think she'll win this one pretty comfortably, and I think she'll get it done by armbar submission against Liana Jojua, who, although is good on the ground, I think she's going to lose this one and just be too inexperienced, and she's going to get armbarred most likely, or finished on the ground, or just positionally controlled in the grappling by a bigger woman on the ground for 3 rounds, because there is a massive size difference here, and I don't like that for Liana Jojua. Cortney is 4 inches taller. She has a 5-inch reach advantage. I think that helps her out if this is an even matchup, and I don't even think it's an even matchup. I think Casey's better anyway. Just because she's 9-9, you can't look at that in women's MMA. Look at Rose Namajunas' record. She's basically the strawweight GOAT right now. I think she's 11-4. You know what I mean? So, Cortney good. She'll win this one by decision. Moving on to another fight up the card, which is Sean Woodson versus Collin Anglin. Sean Woodson's pretty obvious here. Collin Anglin's got good grappling. Not really. He doesn't at all. I don't know why I'm lying to you guys. Collin Anglin, he's a grappler, but he can strike a bit as well. He does decently okay on the feet. Meltik Bagdasaryan didn't look too great in his last performance just a couple days ago, or yesterday actually. Collin Anglin, I don't see him being able to get Sean Woodson to the ground. Woodson's got decent grappling defense. He can be taken down here and there. But in hindsight, a Julian Erosa loss isn't really even that bad, because Julian Erosa's been doing okay in certain fights and beating certain opponents that maybe he shouldn't have done. Sean Woodson is good. Very good. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage here. He's way bigger than Collin Anglin as well. He's got good takedown defense, good movement. He got exposed for maybe a bit of bad cardio in his last fight. But I think like Sean Woodson's going to win this one. Young guy as well, definitely improving. Trains at a good gym. He beat Yusuf Salau in his last fight. Very close fight, don't get me wrong, but he stuffed a lot of takedowns there. He stuffed 15 out of 17 takedowns, and even the 2 that got him down, he got right back up or had submission attempts for them. I think he's going to do quite well here against Anglin. Anglin will have a decent first round shooting takedowns, but they'll all eventually fail, and Woodson will start picking them apart in the second and third, and I think I'll see a decision win or a TKO in the third round by Sean Woodson, because Anglin sort of gassed himself out shooting too many takedowns and failing them. Sean Woodson, third round TKO, moving on up the card to another fight on the main card now, I believe. Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Daukaus. I'm going to go with Kyle Daukaus here. Tough fight to predict, in all honesty, because they're both around the same level. Roman Dolidze is actually a pretty sizable underdog here, so it might be some good odds. But I'm definitely going to be going with Kyle Daukaus here. Very composed, very calm out there. He's got a solid chin. He's got good cardio. He doesn't have any glaring holes other than the fact that he just isn't that amazingly good anywhere. Roman Dolidze has some holes. Cardio seems to be a problem. Grappling seems to be a bit of a problem. Even striking at range in certain moments seems to be a big problem as well. I just don't see him beating Kyle Daukaus. Daukaus is good against the cage. He's good in those scrambles. He can make the best out of a bad situation. If you watch his Brendan Allen fight that he took on short notice, I believe that's one of the big displays of how good he actually is out there. Great grappling against the cage. He took the back of Brendan Allen a couple of times in some scrambles. And Roman Dolidze barely beat Laureano Strapoli, who Jamie Pickett just barely beat. Laureano Strapoli, in hindsight, is a terrible fighter. Shouldn't be in the middleweight division at all. And Roman Dolidze held him against a cage and barely out-knee struck him to the thigh for 3 straight rounds and out-foot stomped him as well. Definitely going to be going with Kyle Daukaus here. I think he's a much better opponent. Moving on to another fight on the card, I'm going to be going with Song Yadong versus Julio Arce is next up on the card. I'm going with Song Yadong here over Julio Arce. I actually believe Julio Arce is a great underdog, but he's not a juicy underdog, you know what I mean? Like, he's not a big underdog. He's only a slight underdog here, only a slight favourite for Song Yadong, which I think is very justified in all honesty, because Julio Arce looked great in his last fight, honestly. He looked very good. He was never big for the featherweight division anyway, but he had a bunch of close fights at featherweight. I believe even a split decision loss to Hakeem Dawodu at one point, who's a great featherweight contender right now. Julio Arce came down, beat Andre Ewell pretty easily in the second round by TKO. He looked good in that fight. He beat Julian Erosa in the third round as well, and that's now a good win in hindsight as well. He beat Dan Ige by unanimous decision. He's good, but is he Song Yadong quick and fast at bantamweight? I don't think he is. I think he's going to go out there, get into an absolute war with Song Yadong, and it's going to be like a close 29-28 decision to Song Yadong. I don't think Arce is wild enough to shock Song Yadong. It feels like in fights, Song Yadong gets flustered by craziness. Kyler Phillips threw a bunch of head kicks, wheel kicks, jump switch kicks to the head. He'd jump up with a front kick to the face and then dive in for a double leg afterwards. He would shock Song Yadong with variation and difference, and it made Song Yadong sort of second guess what he was doing out there. I think Julio Arce is a predominant boxer out there. He throws a couple of kicks now and again and they do look good, but I think he keeps it simple, he keeps it fundamental, and I think you're playing Song Yadong's game when you're doing that. I think you need to be a bit more wild and shocking for him. But Song Yadong is going to make the reads, he's going to land bigger shots every round. Maybe Julio Arce will outland him at certain moments, but I think Song Yadong will land the bigger shots, maybe drop Julio Arce in one of the rounds as well. I think he'll have a power difference, and I think he'll win this one by 29-28. Close decision. Who knows who's going to win? It'll be one of those ones. I guess you can give it to Song Yadong because of the bigger shots that look like they hurt Julio Arce. These are the conversations that will be being had after this fight is over. I think Song Yadong gets this one done by a very, very close split decision, or like a majority decision. I don't even know how it's going to go, but I think it's going to go slightly to him by decision. Just barely. Close fight though. Julio Arce, decent underdog, but just not even a big underdog at all to make me even consider it. So, moving on to another fight on the card, which is Felicia Spencer versus Leah Letson. Leah Letson hasn't been in a cage for 3 years, I believe. No, is it 3 years or is it 2 years? She was on the Ultimate Fighter season and then never fought since. 3 years she's been out of the cage. She's not going to beat Felicia Spencer. She's bigger than Felicia Spencer. She actually has a reach advantage as well. She's a big girl for the division, but what have you been doing for 3 years? What the fuck have you been doing? Felicia Spencer's been in there fighting Cyborg. Good opponent. She was scheduled to fight Holly Holm at one point, I believe. No, she wasn't. She was scheduled to fight Danielle Wolf, sorry, a complete fall from grace from Holly Holm. She fought with Chris Cyborg. She beat Zara Fen Dos Santos. She lost to Amanda Nunes, but she stayed in there for 5 rounds. She lost to Norma Jamont by split decision, and arguably, looking at what Aspen Ladd couldn't do to Norma Jamont in their fight, got basically schooled for 4 of 5 rounds. Yeah, Spencer's pretty good, even though she isn't that good because women's MMA, but for women's MMA, she's actually one of the good ones. And Leah Letson just has no evidence of being good whatsoever. Julia Stolyarenko is not someone I consider to be a good fighter, and she beat her by split decision. So I'm definitely going to be going with Felicia Spencer here. I'll say unanimous decision, 30-27, wins the grappling exchanges, wins the exchanges on the feet as well, and just edges out each and every round by being more active and doing more damage. 30-27 for Felicia Spencer. I think she wins this one, and she's more acclimatized to the division. This is Leah Letson's first fight in the UFC. Big nerves. Spencer's fought for a belt already. I know she's only 8-3, but she's fought for a belt already. You know what I mean? She's been in big fights. She's been in main events or main card slots on pay-per-views. Leah Letson going to be a bit jittery out there, not going to perform well. Felicia Spencer gets this one done by unanimous decision. Moving on to another fight on the card, Rothwell versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Going with Ben Rothwell here. He's a much bigger guy. Got a great chin as well, even though he's been around for ages. You'd expect it to start fading by now, but no. It is not fading. It's actually kind of getting better in certain ways, and honestly, his win over Charles Bennett looking pretty good right now. Charles Bennett just will kick KO Gian Vellante, and Ben Rothwell didn't get any of those his way. Barely got touched in that fight. Got clipped a couple of times here and there, but walked down Charles Bennett. Chris Barnett is his name. I think Marcos Rogerio de Lima, a little bit too short for the division. I think he's going to get walked down and overwhelmed by Ben Rothwell. I like Ben Rothwell's uppercuts that he's been using, and Marcos Rogerio de Lima does duck down and swing overhands quite a bit, so I could see those uppercuts landing. I just think Ben Rothwell's going to walk him down with a 5-inch reach advantage, with a massive weight advantage as well. I mean, I don't know what he weighed in at. Wow, Marcos actually weighs 264. Well, Rothwell cuts down if that's the case. There's no way these two are the same weight. Rothwell's about 10 pounds at least bigger than Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And I think he's getting kind of better in his age at certain moments. Like, he beat Chris Barnett. He had a decent fight with Tybura, who just had a decent fight with Volkov, by the way. A very close one as well. He beat OSP, who's a light heavyweight. He beat Stefan Struve. He had a decent fight with Arlovski, a scrappy one as well. I think it's time for some momentum for Rothwell. And I think he'll get this one done against Rogerio de Lima, who just lost, or just beat Maurice Green, sorry. Maurice Green's shit. Really fucking bad. And Romanov's pretty good as well, and Romanov beat him in the first round. He beat Ben Sassoli, who's not really that good either. And he also beat Stefan Struve. But I'm going to go with Rothwell. Bigger, stronger, more volume, better cardio, can fight at a higher pace. I think he'll win the grappling exchanges just based on size and hip strength, and he'll end up on top in those certain situations. I could see him landing big shots on Rogerio shooting for takedowns, and then just Rothwell driving his hips into Rogerio de Lima and ending up on top in mount or in half guard or in side control and just raining down shots from there to win each and every round. I actually think I'll give this one to Ben Rothwell via 30-26 unanimous decision. I think there'll be a 10-8 round in there, maybe in the third round or something like that. Ben Rothwell gets this one done. Moving on up the card, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. I'm definitely going to be going with Max Holloway here, and I think he'll get this one done by third round TKO. However, it'll be from Rodriguez not answering the bell for the fourth round. I think Holloway has reached a different level that only Volkanovski can tame. I know Holloway fans are going to be angry about that, but you've got to admit, when he's fighting Volko, things don't happen the way it does when he fights Calvin Kattar. He doesn't get to do Holloway shit out there. You know what I mean? Like, Volkanovski kind of tames him a little bit, gives him something to think about. I don't think Yair Rodriguez has the same level of power as Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's very dangerous, though. I think that Yair Rodriguez, if you're going to pick him to win by body kick KO in the first round. Anything can happen in MMA. I didn't think Jeremy Stephens was going to get dropped by a body shot anytime soon, but Yair Rodriguez slammed that kick into his ribs immediately in that first round and hurt him badly. But Yair Rodriguez, the problem is with him. He can hurt people. Unless he lands like a jump round kick on Philly and puts you out cold, he can hurt people with shots. His finishing ability is so shit. It's actually pathetic to me. No offense to Yair Rodriguez. One of my favourite fighters, even though he's a roid cheat. Because he didn't have a single test for the past 365 days. But he's got good kicks, and maybe he could hurt Holloway in certain moments. I just don't think he has the power to put away Holloway. I think you need to crack Holloway with a big shot like Poirier did, rock him really badly, and then crack him with another big shot, and then that'll maybe put down Holloway for good. I don't see Yair Rodriguez doing it with his fucking childlike hammer fists down on Holloway's head. I think Holloway will recover if he does get hurt, and I don't even see him getting hurt. That's my point, but I think Holloway's going to win this one pretty easily. I think it'll be a competitive round in the first, but Holloway will start getting the better of it towards the end of the first round, start landing some good body shots, start landing a couple of good elbows. I think both guys are going to take some shots in the first round. Then the second round's going to happen, and I think Yair Rodriguez is going to get clipped a few more times. Holloway's starting to throw the lead leg oblique kick on Yair Rodriguez, messing up his timing for his kicks. Rodriguez wants to kick way more, but he starts moving backwards too much, and it's hard to set them up when you're moving backwards. Very hard to set kicks up when you're moving backwards. Any Edson Barboza fight usually tells you this. When he moves backwards, incredibly hard to set up those switch kicks to the body and find timing for that without crowding yourself. Holloway's going to go forward with pressure, with volume, with a granite chin, and a good tough body as well. And I think he'll beat Yair Rodriguez in the first round, in a close round. I think in the second round, he'll start really busting up Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez will have a swollen eye a little bit, a cut over his cheek in the other side from an elbow from Holloway against the cage, bruised ribs and stuff. He'll have a red body. His legs will be kind of a bit red as well from a couple of leg kicks from Holloway. I think he'll land some good shots. There might be a moment in round 2 maybe, and this is my perception of the fight. I don't see a body kick happening, but I do see maybe Holloway rushes in against the cage to land a few big shots, and then Rodriguez throws like an elbow to check him as he comes in, and it stuns Holloway for a second. And it's like, oh my goodness, Holloway's rocked, but Holloway's fine. He recovers himself, goes back to work, digs at the body of Yair again. Yair's on the stall at the end of the second round, not liking the way things are going, starting to slow down. He has quite bad cardio in general. Third round happens, Holloway tuning up the body as well, landing big shots upstairs, elbowing the face of Yair Rodriguez, spinning back kick to the body on Yair Rodriguez. He's spinning on Yair now, and Yair's getting beaten up. Swollen eye, cut under the eye on the other side, swollen shut eye at this point as well. The doctor's asking him if he can see. He doesn't want to go back out there into the fourth round. He's got beaten up quite badly, and Max Holloway finishes Yair Rodriguez on the stall at the end of the third round. I think he's got great cardio advantage, volume advantage, chin advantage, finishing power advantage. Maybe not with the kicks, but with the hands, I believe, especially. And Holloway's usually used to a bit more of a reach disparity than this. Yair Rodriguez only has a 71-inch reach. I think Holloway's got this one. And again, even though Yair Rodriguez is the new kid on the block, again, Max Holloway's the same age as him. 29 years of age. Still improving. Took some damage in the Qatar fight, don't get me wrong, but still won it very dominantly. But he did get into a few scrappy moments here and there. I think he'll reset himself, go in there and beat Yair Rodriguez, and then hopefully we can get that Volkanovski fight on the February pay-per-view card, on the Adesanya card, and a bit of a CKB showdown maybe. Max Holloway, Volkanovski 3, perfect matchup in the featherweight division. But Yair Rodriguez is tough, and he could get a body kick KO, just not betting on a body kick KO for him. He's actually good odds as well, because Holloway is such a favourite here over him, minus 500. I might put a little bit of money on Yair Rodriguez in the first round, because that's the only way it's going to happen in my opinion. Why not, right? It's going to be great odds there. But I don't see him winning this one. Even against a Korean zombie. He won it in the last seconds of it, but he was slowing down. Wasn't looking that good in certain moments. I think Holloway's levels above the rest of these featherweights. And I think he's going to prove that against Rodriguez this weekend. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Plus, Holloway's got a much better understanding after the Volkanovski fights of kick range and kicks and how to deal with them. Volkanovski tricked him with kicks in the first fight. Steamrolled him in the first fight. I believe 4 rounds to 1. Holloway reassessed himself, came out with more footwork, more understanding of kicks, more kicks of his own. I think that improvement in the kicking realm of MMA is going to massively help him here against Yair Rodriguez, and I'm glad he made that improvement recently because it helps me be more confident in my pick of him. Moving on to nothing. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. Yair quits on the stall at the end of round 3. Goodbye.